All right. Hi, everyone. This is Mr. May. I'm going to go over what we've gone over the first 2 days in this Egypt unit. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible so you can get everything and be able to do all the work that you need to do in order to be caught up if you have missed any assignments. So the first thing is this is the academic vocabulary that you're going to need to know for this unit. I would recommend writing these down and writing the definitions next to them. Some of the ones that I know you're gonna need to know some of these in particular. Mummification, that's how they wrap people after they died. The afterlife is very important to the Egyptians because of their religious beliefs. All right, they are believers in polytheism right here, which means many gods. All right, once people died in the Egyptian world, many of them were pharaohs who were the kings of Egypt. They would be mummified and embalmed, which is a removal of human organs. And then they would be placed inside a sarcophagus, which would then be placed inside of a pyramid, which has to do with the afterlife in Egypt. You're also going to need to know about the social hierarchy of Egypt. That's important to know because Egypt gives us an idea of how the rest of the world is going to view people, including those of higher power, all the way down. All right, so this is Egypt at the time. Now, something you'll notice very particular about Egypt is that Lower Egypt is in the north and Upper Egypt is in the south, which is unusual for anywhere else in the world. And that's because of the river that is in Egypt. It is called the Nile. Now, the Nile River, unlike most rivers, like here in the United States, like the largest river here, the Mississippi River flows south to north down into the, into the Gulf of Mexico. The Nile River flows north into the Mediterranean Sea. As you can see right here, this is the Nile Delta, which is where it splits off into multiple different directions and feeds into the Mediterranean Sea. This location near the Mediterranean Sea and the way the Nile flows is very important to what's going to happen with Egyptian culture and their success. There are 2 videos that you should watch that are available on our Schoology page. If you go right here, you go to second period, go to week 10, under day 1, I know there's a lot of steps to this, there is the fertility of the Nile River and a check for understanding that you need to do. There's also this video about the ancient Egyptian calendar and an exit ticket that you need to do for that as well. This is important for me to see so I know that you understand, number 1, why the river was so important, and number 2, how we got close to what we have currently today with the calendars that we have and the role that it will play in Egyptian culture. So after that, you're going to learn a little bit about the social hierarchy of Egypt. At the top of the social pyramid, play on words and everything, is the Pharaoh. After him is the vizier, senior officials, high priest, and nobles. Those are people that are normally a part of the royal family. Then there are scribes. These are the official writers of Egypt. Then skilled artisans and craftspeople. Artisans, of course, make things, and craftspeople make statues. And the Egyptians loved their crafts, as we can see in the future with the pyramids and the Great Sphinx. After that are going to be peasant farmers and workers, and underneath them are servants and slaves. Now, I'm going to quickly go over what each person's role was in society, and then I will further address on what you need to do after. So if you do have a notebook, please take notes of everything you have and include 1 or 2 details about each person in the social pyramid. So first, there's the Pharaoh. He is considered a god on earth, and their duty is to maintain law and order in the kingdom. Much like today is where we have our leaders, except ours are elected, while theirs are chosen from somewhere from above. This God on earth role of leadership is going to play a role throughout the rest of history for a while. The Pharaoh's job, the expectation from them, was that he would bring a good flood from the Nile, because the Nile River brings fertile soil similar to that of Mesopotamia. The Pharaoh also owned all the land in Egypt, but he could gift land to other people if he felt so much that they deserved it. On the second tier are government officials, priests, and nobles. Government officials were basically members of the royal family, and they made many decisions on what happened to the people in the world. The highest position there was the vizier, all right? After that are priests. They served the god's needs, and at times, the power of the high priest, Amun-Ra, rivaled the pharaohs. So the only person who could even be close to the same power is the highest priest, Amun-Ra. And they oversaw the running of the temple community. And there are a lot of temples in Egypt because they had many gods, i.e., that made up polytheism. After that were the nobles. They were the only group besides the royal family who could hold a government office. They ruled regions of Europe. So they were kind of like the governors of Egypt. So today in the United States, we have governors who are in charge of each state. The nobles, they ruled the nomes. They're small little regions, and they made local laws and maintained order. They also owned farmland, which the peasant class worked for them. Below them were the scribes and soldiers. Scribes are the only people that could read and write. Imagine that, guys. There was only a small group of people that were able to read and write. Today, everyone reads and writes. But back then, the scribes were the only people that read and wrote everything. But the big thing they did is they were record keepers. They made sure they know how much food was produced and how much was gifted to the gods. They also kept a record of the number of soldiers that were in the army, because you have to know how many people you have. Because say you go to war with 1,000 people and only 400 come back, you're probably going to need to find 600 people to fight for the war and the next war. And the soldiers protected Egypt from outside attacks. They also ended social uprisings, because not everyone liked the leadership of the Pharaoh. All right? And at times, they oversaw the lowest classes when they built the pyramids. All right? So the pyramids did use manual labor to be built. And we're going to talk a little bit about them in a second. Here is a video that I will add to our Schoology page in a second, so you guys can see the order of the social structure. This video is very good, and I would reference it when I am doing some of my work in the future. After them are the merchants, artisans, and craftspeople. They're kind of the middle class. They're people like they're people that did a lot of the work, all right? They were skilled. Merchants today still exist. They're the people that sell the stuff at the stores or even at the mall, right? Artisans and craftsmen, we have artists still today. And artisans are people that make things that we use. That includes carpenters, jewelers, metalwork, painters, potters, sculptors, anything along those lines. They made clothing for people. They were very important to the Egyptian culture, but they held a middle. They were basically in the middle part of society. Artisans often also painted the walls of the pyramids, we see their work today. If anything, outside of the pharaohs, they might be the most important people to history because, well, them and the scribes, because they recorded what happened. And we can see the detail and and everything involved with what they did during that time. Finally, we have the peasants, farmers, and servants, and construction workers. These are the people these were the hardworking people. They did the farming, they raised all the food, they raised all the animals, and these people helped build the pyramids. We'll talk a little bit more about them when we talk about the pyramids in a few days. And at the bottom of the social status are the slaves. But they didn't have slave markets, all right? Most of the slaves were prisoners of war. They worked in the homes of the nobles, in the royal palace, and the temples. They also They also mined for stones and precious materials. All right, but that's the role that they played in society. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into the Schoology page after this. You're going to look for something called the social hierarchy or Egyptian hierarchy, and you're going to complete the assignment. Make sure you submit it. That's going to be the final thing that you have to do for this day. Okay. So if you don't have any other further questions, you have a great day, and I hope this is helpful in you being able to get all your work done.